Whoa. Okay. We're going live sooner than I planned because yes, as John Smith, I'll credit John Smith as the first reporting. This just came in. White Sox to acquire Craig Kimbrel. I was going to give myself just a couple of minutes to get ready here, but no, we're live now. Let me just set the camera. Thanks for everybody that's already logged on. We will be going live until the end of the trade deadline, which is in an hour and 36 minutes. An hour 36 exciting minutes. We have Liam Hendricks and Craig Kimbrel now? Wow, okay. Well, here we go. So, yeah, I thought I was going to have to spend some time. I thought I was going to have to spend some time filling a little bit. Would there be enough to talk about to do an hour and a half live stream? And hello, Go Caps. Hello, John Smith. Thank you both for coming in and chatting right away. This has become one of the most exciting trade deadlines I can remember. Even without the Kimbrel signing, which of course I didn't even know what happened. I didn't even know that was going to happen. The White Sox had been somewhat quiet. We've made some good moves. I've liked what the White Sox have done so far. Yeah, happy with the moves. I really did like the picking up of Cesar Hernandez. Now, of course, he wasn't the big name out there. I know a lot of people understandably wanted Frazier. I really wanted Story. He's not the biggest move, but he absolutely is an upgrade. And he didn't cost that much. Let's be honest. The individual trades that the White Sox took part in have so far really helped add to the team without taking away too much from the minor league squad. So yeah, and this is just, again, as I went live, White Sox to acquire Craig Kimbrel. I hope we don't have to give up too much for him. That news isn't out as it stands right now. I will be updating my MLB trade rumors page. If anybody has, kind of scoops me on it, by all means, leave it in the comments what the White Sox are going to have to give up in order to get the Cubs closer, the former Cub closer. The White Sox bullpen was very much a strong suit coming into the season, and they held up pretty well for the first half. But as we all know, they have fallen on some harder times lately. So, Caps, you say go White Sox, Nats, and Reds. You are all over the place when it comes to your emotions this week, the last 2 days, because the Nationals, what a teardown they've been undergoing. Go Cap says, I just like Eaton, but got traded. Which Eduardo Escobar. Yeah, Eduardo Escobar was the first name the White Sox were attached to when it came to the second base position upgrades. I wasn't crazy about it. It would have been an upgrade for sure. And as long as we didn't have to give up too much, I would have been okay with it. He would have been a nice power upgrade. But speaking of power, and I guess I'm a little bit all over the place because the breaking news as I went live was so unexpected. Cesar Hernandez, again, kind of an overlooked person, an unsung hero of the tribe. He has as many home runs this year as Jose Abreu. So if you're getting Jose Abreu type power out of the second base position, and as we know, the White Sox are in the bottom 5 when it comes to most home runs hit on the season. So surprisingly, I mean, obviously, part of that has to do with the lack of Eloy and Luis for the whole season. But yes, adding another power bat and to get that out of the second base position is outstanding. Just one more sentence added. He'll pair with Liam Hendricks to give the Southsiders a lethal 1-2 punch. Well, that goes without saying. Kimbrel, that is. The addition of Ryan Tepera is a nice one as well. I don't know. Let's take a quick look at his career numbers. So, he came up with the Blue Jays at first. He has pitched overall to an 8.38 ERA. Oh, sorry, that's runs per 9. So ERA should be even better. 3.54. So that's good. It's not like he just had one good season with the Cubs and then they cashed out at the right time. He has good career numbers, of course, even better this year with a 2.91 ERA. He has never closed out a game. Not that matters. I mean, he does have just 11 saves over 7 years. A really nice bullpen arm, which we need because we just lost Evan Marshall. He's on the 60-day injured list right now. And he is, of course, an arm that we rely on quite a bit. So we don't know. He might not get back in time to make the playoffs roster. We don't really know too much about his injury right now. So the fact that Ryan Tepera is on the team is really going to help bolster that bullpen. And now Craig Kimbrel joining us is just nuts. Talk about some high leverage arms. I have to make peace with the fact that we're going to have a guy doing that weird Falcon squat on every pitch. I really enjoyed making fun of that more so than cheering it on. So we'll see. I guess I'll adjust. So NOLUWYK wants Kris Bryant. No Lubick. Kris Bryant. There's a lot of talk on the Twitter sphere about Kris Bryant coming to the White Sox to play right field, kind of a pipe dream type thing. I get it. He would absolutely be an upgrade. I don't know. I can't imagine how ticked off Cubs fans would be if they made yet another trade that helped the White Sox out. Not saying it won't happen. Whoever ends up with the best offer is the one that's going to seal the deal. The White Sox outfield, as it stands, who knows where Eloy is going to end up playing mostly. I've always been saying I hope he spends most of his time at designated hitter once he gets back. And then he looked outstanding in the field on his second game back, playing in his first game, actually back in the field, in left field in Kansas City. But as we see, he's already got a small groin pull. So I think the White Sox are going to really try to baby him as much as possible. For that reason, I hate to label any player injury prone, but I don't know what else you can say at this point when it comes to Eloy. So if we have Vaughn in left, Luis in right, that leaves Luis in center. Right field theoretically could be open for Bryant. I don't know. It would be really neat to see. Anything is an upgrade over what we had last year, of course, as we went into the playoffs with Nomar Mazara as our right fielder. At that point, I think Adam Engel was getting more time out there. But we have a really exceptional outfield, just so much depth. You're scaring me there, Go Caps. Hendricks to the Nats, is that real? I don't see that here. I think you're just suggesting it. Let's see. Let me catch up on some of the comments here. Is that for real, John Smith? Nick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer for Craig Kimbrel. That can't be right. Oh, I hope that's not right. I'm not a fan of the trade if that's the case. Cody. Okay, here we go. You're right. Okay, I almost swore for the first time on this channel. Nick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer. I love the move for the Cubs at this point. Wow, that's upsetting. I really love Nick Madrigal. Yeah, I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, take my first little wet the whistle timeout as I process this one. The Cubs got a great deal. Cody Hoyer has not been lights out this year as he was last year, but he's still a very, very talented young arm. Somebody that I definitely saw as being potentially an eighth inning type of guy. He could mature into that role. Nick Madrigal is a guy that's going to bat in the 300s every year, maybe the mid 300s, maybe lead the batting title here or there. So what are the White Sox going to do now at the second base position? Obviously, yes, the White Sox did just get Cesar Hernandez, who has an option for next year. So we can just pick up that option and then boom, we've got second base taken care of for the next, this year and all of next year. Oops. So that's the alarm when I was initially planning to go live. So yeah, I don't know. What are you guys thinking? It doesn't sound. Let's see. You guys want a catcher and a bullpen pitcher? Says Go Caps. Vaughn playing second against the Royals. Yeah, I don't think that's an experiment that it would last. It was kind of. I mean, that dude is so ready to be the next Leury Garcia, right? He just is. They're putting him all over the field, and he's handling his own pretty well. He obviously was shaky in right field, but he's not used to seeing the ball off the bat from right field. An exact mirror image experience from left field, how the ball travels, how the ball curves off the bat. So yeah, overall, I mean, Craig Kimbrel, I think, is going to absolutely help us this year. We are going to miss Nick Madrigal in the long term. That's my immediate takeaway on this one. Don't love it. Don't love it at all. I think we could have survived without Kimbrel in the bullpen. let's see. So some of the other big names that have not moved yet, Kris Bryant was already mentioned. Uh, Colorado has been way less active than I was expecting them to be. Let's see. Avila and Avalon to the White Sox for Grandal and Hendricks. No, thank you. um, yeah, no, Grandal is not going anywhere. We certainly don't have the depth. We do have a lot of good catchers, but just not that big starting catcher who Yasmani Grandal is. I do love people suggesting trades in the comments, though. But yes, the the Rockies have not been as active yet. I think they still will pull the trigger on a couple of trades. I'm really surprised that Jermaine has not been traded yet, starting pitcher. And of course, Trevor Story. And news just broke that the Rockies are willing to lower their asking price. They were asking for the moon, apparently. And nobody was taking. And he is a pure rental. He's only going to be with whatever team picks him up for just this year. And Colorado might as well get something for him. At this point, it's better to get something than just have this expensive player on your team that has no chance of making the playoffs. Let's see. Yeah, you're right, John. This is one of the best upcoming free agency classes when it comes to second basemen. Now, most of these second basemen are going to be, or middle infielders in general, are going to be very high priced. Kind of in the realm that the White Sox usually don't play in. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, it would be outstanding to get, I think Cody Bellinger is up, or maybe it's Seager from the Dodgers. Yeah, there you go. Seager, Correa, Story, and Baez. I'm okay to steer clear of Baez. I think he is an outstanding fielder, like really one of the best fielding middle infielders in the game. But wow, his bat has just disappeared for the last couple of years. But yeah, any of the others would be nice. I'm still a little bit bummed about Nick Madrigal, I got to say. I wonder if we can trade Yermin for somebody. That's a good question. And I think had the White Sox given him a chance to rebuild a little bit of value after the All-Star break, that would be an easy yes. I thought maybe Brian Goodwin would be included, even just as a throw-in somewhere, especially if we got some more. Well, we have so much outfield help coming back with Luis coming back soon, just as part of a package, not obviously a centerpiece. But yeah, let's see. Okay, no new news yet. The Twins have been Kershaw to the Nats for Lester. I love it. Good to go crazy, man. Speaking of the Dodgers, they have made some big positive moves for themselves. Things that they had to do because Trevor Bauer, it turns out, is a massive creep. So that's how annoying is it for the front office? I think we landed the biggest fish of last year's free agent market, gave him a huge money contract, and now he is going to be suspended probably for the rest of the year. Turns out nobody on the team wants him back, his teammates, that is. Yeah, things have really turned in LA. And speaking of it, what a great year the Giants have been having. Still 3 games up over the Dodgers. And Padres, surprisingly, 5.5 game back. Okay, John Smith says, here is my hot take. Javi is a terrible baseball player, great fielder. That's due to speed and hand-eye coordination. He will age very quickly and fall extremely quick. I think the fall is already happening. He's reaching terminal velocity at this point, which it's just so wild to see somebody fall that quickly because he's a very intense player too. But let's see here. Anything new? But yeah, Dodgers picked up Max Scherzer and Trey Turner from the Nationals. What a crazy pickup. The NL West keeps getting bigger and stronger. I kind of can't believe how much the trade deadline is mirroring free agency, where it is the rich get richer kind of a thing. The highest dollar team is still picking up the huge players, not just in free agency, but also at the trade deadline. Yeah, White Sox are definitely not trading Jose Abreu. His trade value is probably not outstanding at this point. I do have to say, I hate to say it, but he's been very streaky this year. He has been able to put the team on his back and lead for weeks at a time, and then and then be kind of rough. Apparently, he's been dealing with a little bit of a neck injury, so hopefully that has something to do with it. And hopefully he's, of course, better after getting the day off yesterday. And yes, Yankees. So that's why I was going to segue into the Yankees next, because how weird is it that the Yankees are, of course, they're going for it. They're pushing. They got Rizzo from the Cubs. They got Joey Gallo from the Rangers. But with, wait, did I say that right? Yeah, Rizzo to the Yankees. But Yankees are not picking up anybody's salary. So they are making the trading team cover the salary. They're willing to give up more prospects for that to happen, because they don't want to go over the trade deadline. They don't want to go over the luxury tax threshold, which is nuts to me. That's so small ball, small market acting, especially because the current CBA is up this coming December, and we don't really know, will the penalties overlap into next year? Will there be penalties? Will there be a luxury tax? Chances are there'll be something, but they could probably negotiate their way out of it. It's really odd to me how much the Yankees are acting like they are handcuffed by finances. They're like the last team you'd ever expect to hear that from. Do I think Caesar is going to play today? I do. I don't know for sure at all, of course, but we know he's already there. He didn't have to travel at all. He was already in Cleveland, and yeah, he just gets to switch dugouts today. I'm absolutely sure he's going to play today. And yeah, the White Sox are going to want to see what they have in the moment in the better uniform. Let's see, Tigers. So another team that's been interesting. Well, first off, Cleveland is interesting. We know that it's not common for a team to make a trade within their own division, but it does happen. It's unusual, but it's not impossible to think of. But I can't think of. Now, I haven't researched it either, but I can't think of the last time a second place team made a trade with the team that they were chasing to make that team better. I guess this is an absolute white flag type of moment for Cleveland, even though they're in second place. They are, 8 games back? Verified. Yes, 8 games even behind the White Sox right now. And they didn't do anything for a little while until just earlier today. They made a trade sending Eddie Rosario over to Atlanta. They don't have a lot of, it's odd that they don't have a lot of tradable pieces. Obviously, the most valuable guy on their team is Jose Ramirez. They're not going to trade him, of course. They would get a whole lot back if they did. And then a lot of their others, potential trade bait are pitchers that are injured. So they're in a really weird position right now. Let's see. I'm seeing more in the chat that I want to check out. Okay, so here's the first time I've seen Josh Donaldson's name pop up, which is somebody I was going to bring up on my own, because the Twins are also in an unusual position, and I think they are giving us a signal to what they are thinking of doing in 2022. Of course, the Twins are, a medium market team. They have a really good fan base, a strong fan base. But again, not the biggest viewing area, so probably not the most strong TV deal. And honestly, their owner is notoriously cheap. So that is something that hamstrings them quite a lot. So when it looked like they were going to make some trades, I did not think that they were going to trade Nelson Cruz, just because he is a beloved fan favorite. And, you got to keep some people on the team to keep people buying tickets and coming out to games. I thought they wouldn't trade Nelson Cruz. Meanwhile, it becomes the first big trade of the deadline era, the post All-Star break era. I thought Josh Donaldson was going to be the easy trade bait that Minnesota was going to do whatever they could to unload, to get rid of his contract, to also to trade him while he still had some trade value because he is so injury prone. I thought they would try to get out from under him when they could, as they could. But we haven't heard anything except just now at 1:36 local time. Both Buxton and Donaldson are being shopped by the Twins. Buxton is an interesting one too. Definitely another fan favorite, but come on. Woo. Talk about injury history. This guy is exceptionally talented. He is one of the most talented outfielders in the game when he's healthy, both with the bat and with the glove. And he, the Twins tried to extend him. I thought they offered a fair amount. It was an 80 million plus dollar deal. I can't remember. I think it was over 7 years. I want to say 6 or 7 years, 80 million, 87 million, something around there. I thought that was a fair amount. If there was incentives in there, especially, it would be a fair amount because he is injured so frequently. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Twins are going to be able to get anything for Byron Buxton. Um, yeah, they're just in a really tough spot with him. He is a very difficult person to put a dollar amount on it for what his actual value is, because it's such a big deal. If he's on the field, he's a team leader, but mostly he's in the training room. So just taking a look around. Okay, I think we are just about caught up on the hottest, most recent trades. In my phone, I had to take my watch out. My phone was blowing up with people texting me over the recent Kimbrel trade. Um, yeah. So, so we have an hour and 16 minutes left before the trade deadline is officially complete. Um, Nothing new with Craig Kimbrel. With Kris Bryant. Very interestingly, the Braves. I mean, what a weird place that they are in right now. Braves had one of the best teams on paper. I thought they were going to walk away with the National League East. They have had a rough go of it, and then of course losing Acuna right around the All-Star break, their best player. The Braves are currently 4 games back there behind the Phillies, chasing the Mets, and really nobody has run away with it in that division. That was going to be a really great division, I thought. The Nationals as well, 7.5 games back, only beating the Miami Marlins, the young, exciting Miami Marlins. But even though the Braves are not in the position we thought they would be, they are being aggressive at the trade deadline. They reacquired Adam Duvall. He, of course, had played with them in the past. And he got them from the Marlins, I believe. And they, as I mentioned at the top of this, Eddie Rosario was picked up. Oh yeah, back to the Twins. Somehow I forgot about this. There's so much going on. I'm kind of all over the place. Yes, Cesar is activated, as is Tempera. Moncada's not going anywhere either. Go Caps. Yeah, the White Sox. We would trade from depth. We would trade absolutely. I know Sebi Zavala's name is thrown out there. Yes, I think he is absolutely a tradable item. Danny Mendick would be somebody as well. People that there's not very many people on the major league squad that would be traded. Of course, obviously everybody's got a price, as we see with Cody Hoyer and Nick Madrigal just now. But otherwise, I would check out our farm system to see what you would want to offer, what you'd want to pick up from the White Sox. So the Twins, I think, as I began to talk about, are indicating what their plans are for 2022. At the beginning of this trade season, they had made a statement that they're only going to trade players who are only signed through this year, kind of indicating that they would be still competing and going for it in 2022. Then everybody came calling for Jose Berrios, their top pitcher. At first, everybody was talking about Michael Pineda, and I haven't heard Michael Pineda's name in days now. And he is, I don't know, he might be a consolation prize for somebody at the very last minute. I think the Twins will be able to move him as long as their asking price isn't too high. But Jose Berrios, he is he's still arbitration eligible for next year as well. So the Twins were going to hold on to him. I don't know, maybe think about extending him. And if I was a Twins fan, I would be very frustrated with this because the fact that the Twins ended up trading him to the Blue Jays really shows that, well, I guess next season, let's not worry about paying attention either. Jose is a guy with a tremendous amount of natural talent, very, very, very gifted starting pitcher, but he's been very inconsistent. And this is the year that he's begun to put it all together and be pretty darn good day in, day out, game in, game out. Now, he's still not lights out. He's not a Kershaw type. He's not a Scherzer in his prime or a Verlander in his prime type, but very, very, very good. maybe you could compare him to Lucas Giolito a couple of years ago. Of course, Giolito's continued to ascend, and I think Jose will as well. So it's kind of, if I was a Twins fan, I'd be very frustrated with this move because yes, we dealt through the inconsistencies and the bad times, and now he's becoming a star, and that's when we get rid of him. Of course, the Twins did pick up some prospects for him, some highly rated prospects, but still, it'd be very frustrating as a Twins fan because they're indicating that they are not going for it in 2022. Oh, by the way, unrelated, it's baseball news, but it's not trade related. Can you believe what's been going on with Hector Santiago? First off, he was the first person to be caught using some foreign substance. Now, I still don't really love how all of that went down. There was no real testing for it. It was just a hunch by the umpires that something was amiss. No appeal process. He's just kind of screwed. But then within a month, he just got busted for PEDs and he's suspended for the next 80 games. So yeah, Hector Santiago, former White Sox, who was then went to the Angels and became an all-star after a good first half and a terrible second half. Now suspended again. What a rough 2021 it's been for him. Twins are also listening on Kenta Maeda. Now he's such a valuable pitcher. Now, he's not having a great year. He's not having a terrible one, but he was Cy Young caliber last year, and his salary is so low. Base salary of just $3 million, although he can earn an additional $10 million based on incentives. So yeah, even if he met that whole $13 million, that's the most he would get paid, and he's a very solid starting pitcher. Okay, Kyle with a KY space LE doesn't like the Kimbrel trade. Giving up Madrigal was too much. 100% agree. We don't have. I'm still coming to terms. This is not going to happen today. I've got to go through the 5 stages here, because Nick Madrigal was one of my favorite players to watch. He was the best 9th in the batting order player in all of baseball. When you can have somebody batting low in the lineup, that is going to help you turn that lineup over. Somebody that likes to bat around, 350, a Mr. 3000 kind of guy. As he said, he wanted to, he believes that he will get 3,000 hits in his career. And I believe him. Other than the injuries, I have no reason not to believe him. You do have to wonder, do the White Sox know something more about his injury than we do? Whether it's the specific injury that he's dealing with now, his ruptured Achilles, or is it torn hamstring? I think it was a double hamstring tear. Don't love it. Really don't love this trade. I wonder if the White Sox know a bit more about the injury than we do. That's the only thing I can think of at this point. John Smith, the White Sox bullpen feels like the 2015 Royals. Yeah, I'll go with you on that one. Kelvin Herrera, Holland, and Davis. Yeah, that was the 3-headed monster, as they called it. And it really changed how teams put bullpens together after the 2015 season. Let's see. Baez wants to be with Lindor. That'd be an interesting middle infield. That'd be an exciting middle infield. Talk about a guy that had a rough introduction to his new team, Lindor with the Mets. So thoughts on Bauer? I mentioned Bauer at the beginning of this, which is what necessitated the Dodgers to go for it when making that big trade for Max Scherzer. There's really nothing I can officially say until it's all out in the open and everybody's had their day in court, literally. But man, I feel for the Dodgers front office, which is not something I would ever think I'd say. A team that has a $300 million payroll, I empathize, I sympathize for them. But the fact that they went out there and they got the big fish from last year's market, paid through the nose to get them, you build up your team around this pitching, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. You think you're going to be unstoppable. Season is not going terribly, but it's definitely not going as the way everybody, myself included, thought they would. I thought the Dodgers would be clinching the division right now, and they're in second place. But then to have a guy, here's a question for you guys, because I don't know the answer to it. I could look it up, but I haven't yet. I know NFL has a clause in contracts for conduct detrimental to the team, meaning if somebody goes off and does something really bad in their free time, in their personal life, well, we don't have to pay you anymore. You have put the team in a bad position. Your contract is suspended. We don't have to pay you. It's null and void, something like that. Does Major League Baseball have that? If not, they absolutely should. And Bauer should be dropped like that. He's obviously we don't know everything that happened, but we hear some scurrilous allegations, and Bauer, who is very outspoken, has not denied anything. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Let's see. Honestly, I don't mind the Kimbrel trade because I think we need to make a push this year. I don't know. I know we don't want to damage our future too much, but Madrigal wasn't helping us this year, and Kimbrel will. That is a very good counterpoint. That is all true. There's nothing untrue about what you're saying there. And I think the fact that the White Sox made that move to pick up Cesar Hernandez, yes, maybe the White Sox will make a big free agent acquisition in the offseason. But even if they don't, they do have a backup in Cesar Hernandez. Now, if I was to go 1-to-1, would I want a healthy Nick Madrigal or a healthy Cesar Hernandez? I'd go with Nick Madrigal. Don't forget, a lot of attention gets paid to his ability to get base hits, to get on base via a really high batting average, which is really fun to see. But he also, in his last full major league or minor league season, was given basically the equivalent of a minor league gold glove, the minor league platinum glove. He was the best fielding minor leaguer the last year he was in the minors. So he's good with the bat and the glove. And Cesar Hernandez did win a gold glove. I should mention that. He won the gold glove just last year. But still, I don't know. I'm going to miss Nick Madrigal. Yeah, Nicky will definitely be missed. Let's see. Yeah, some talk about last season, especially in the playoffs. Well, we had a great lineup, but we needed more pitching. I don't know if I don't want to treat this year like it's a make or break, all or nothing year. And by the fact that the White Sox already extended Lance Lynn shows that, okay, this is a long haul team that is going to be together for a long time. Of course, we know we've got Eloy and Luis. We have all of these players, Tim Anderson, Yoan. So many players are locked up long term. The next one is probably to give an extension to Lucas Giolito, which would be probably a great time to do it this year. He's still a little bit removed from free agency, and he's not having as dominant a season as he did have last year. So some of his value may have dropped a little bit when you're talking dollars and cents on an extension. I would love to lock up Lucas. So Kimbrel being with us for just this year is probably a good thing. So a tough thing about acquiring a player mid-season is that we wouldn't be able to extend a qualifying offer to him, which could help us recoup at least a draft pick in the offseason. So that's, this is definitely an all-in move, picking up Craig Kimbrel. Let's see, what else am I missing? Mets finalizing a trade for Baez. Is that for real? Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this. This is like, it's coming up here a second after you guys tip me off to it. Mets have an agreement in place to acquire Javi Baez. Yeah, that will be an exceptional infield to watch. Like, so interesting. Great fielders. Let's see. Zach Davies or Trevor Williams, reliever, very good reliever, might also go from Chicago to New York in a separate deal. All right, Cubs it's fire sale time. A's are acquiring Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison from the Nationals. Wow. So how you doing, Go Caps? So many Nationals are departing the team. I still can't believe that Trey Turner trade. The Dodgers, man alive. How many All-Stars can they get on one team? No news still on Trevor Story. More Bryant rumors, but nothing, really nothing with traction yet. And we have an hour and 4 minutes remaining of the deadline, before the deadline. Let's see. Yep, Javi to the Mets. Hello, Jeffrey Check. Yeah, we've been talking about that Kimbrel trade a lot, most of this live stream so far. And yes, having an exciting day. This is my first attempt to do a live stream on this channel, and it's been eventful. Usually on other channels, I'll have a big outline of what I'm going to talk about, but today I just thought we're going to go live. There's so much news. We'll wing it. I might have to tap dance around a little bit as I don't exactly have a plan, but it's been fun. And the fact that you guys are commenting and chatting is a great thing. Kimbrel is here for next year too. Let's take a look at that. I did not know that. I thought he was on the final year. We are heading over to Cots baseball contracts, which is my go-to. So Kimbrel. Oh, there's a buyout. I see. There's a buyout for 2022, just a $1 million buyout. Um, so yeah, okay. All right. Well, that eases the pain a little bit. That puts some some salve on the wound. So his club option is $16 million of the $1 million buyout. Okay. I mean, that's White Sox payroll is going to be going up quick, but that's okay. Hey, I'm happy to buy tickets if it's going towards all-star players. Let's see, club control for 2022. That's a bad move by the Mets. Yeah, I don't know what is going back to the Cubs from the Mets yet, although it's probably updated by now. Oh, here we nope, don't have it yet. I don't know. Again, Javi is an electric player. I hate to admit how much I like him. As a fielder, I hate playing against him because he's got that cocky walk and that attitude. But if he was on your team, you'd love him. So I hate playing against him. It's going to be a lot of fun next week when the White Sox play the Cubs next weekend because they will not have Rizzo. Oh my gosh, they're losing so many of their core players. Longtime players, I should say, because there is no core anymore on the north side. Let's just be honest there. Yep, Nicky Two Strikes and Cody Hoyer is gone. One of the best closers in history. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to become more of an aficionado because Kimbrel spent a lot of his time in the National League, so I didn't get to see him a ton. He has no approach at the plate. No, he is a very, very undisciplined hitter. He is, and I hate to slander a guy that we like right now, but he's Billy Hamilton-esque at the plate. A strike zone that is too wide, chases too much. But he could be a difference maker. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's personal ability or if my guess is that people just realized, oh, we don't have to throw this guy a strike. Let's get close to the plate. Let's throw sliders that fall way out of the zone, and we can get him out that way with soft contact. Source confirms from Go Caps, Baez and Trevor Williams to the Mets, pending reviews. Okay. So, yeah, Mets are... It's so wild at the beginning of the season. Again, you have... This is why they play the games, as they say. Teams on paper that look so good, so strong, and the Mets were definitely one of them, especially once they got Francisco Lindor. And you thought they would... you thought the East would be a tough division, but the Mets looked like they would be strong. Of course, they've had injuries to their pitching, and now they're having to go out and make these trades to keep their slim lead over the Phillies of all teams. And Phillies weren't a team that I was completely believing that they would be there in the thick of it. I absolutely thought it would be Braves, then Mets, then Nationals. It's going to be fun at the very end of the season. I'm going to go back and we'll review some of the preseason predictions. And I love being wrong. That's why we play the games. Let's see. Oh, John Smith. I live in a Cubs household, so I watch a lot of Cubs games, and he aggravates me to watch. So, John, I wanted to give my backstory in one of these videos, and I grew up in a Cubs household as well. Yes, you and I, we saw the light. We went through the dark days, and we saw the light. I'm from the north suburbs of Chicago, Mundelein, specifically. Grew up in a diehard Cubs fan home, and learned to watch baseball. Learned how baseball works by watching games. Ironically, announced by Steve Sohn and Harry Carey. But yeah, the Andre Dawson, Sean Dunston, Ryan Sandberg, Mark Grace, Greg Maddux days. And that's what that's how I learned baseball. And then one day I flipped the channel. I found out the clicker has another button, and I saw the White Sox with George Bell at DH. And a very young Frank Thomas, Robin Ventura. And I just thought, wow, these guys are fun to watch. Both of those teams were not good back then, but I loved White Sox baseball, and I just got completely addicted to the White Sox really quickly. So yeah, never look back, of course. Shy Sox Nation, first off, welcome. Thank you for joining. It's really fun seeing some of these names. Haven't done a live stream on this channel, so I've only ever commented or only chatted with you via comments. So need to kind of have a little bit of more interaction. Shy Sox Nation says, good move by the Sox. Sox have a better defensive second baseman and run producer, as well as a lockdown reliever through next year. Yeah, so both of the moves the White Sox made, they were not pure rentals. So you got to like that. And the White Sox do still have some flexibility when it comes to, well, they have the options for in both cases, both for Hernandez. I keep wanting to say Oscar Mercado, the other Cleveland middle infield type that is kind of versatile the way Hernandez is. But yeah, both Hernandez and Kimbrel have options for next year. So we've got options, literally. If there's an injury, knock on wood that there's not, but anything's possible as we know this year, we can just not pick up an option. Let's see. Bizagon, yep. Do you think Bell gets traded? Which Bell is that? Cubs are going to be so bad. Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. Stocking up for the farm, mini rebuild. It's going to be a big rebuild, I think, for the Cubs. So John says, I think the Cubs are doing an excellent job. I've been saying they should tear it down for 2 or 3 years. Josh Bell. So I don't know enough about the Josh Bell situation right now. If anybody else wants to chime in, by all means. Oh, that was Harrison. There's so many names floating around right now. Latest on Josh Bell. This is as of 1:30, so about a half hour ago. Credit here, as I'm reading this, goes to MLB Trade Rumors. He's in the lineup today after getting good results from an MRI. He says he feels fine. We'll monitor the game, see how it goes today. But right now, he looks good. Okay, so I don't know exactly what is up in the whole world of the Nationals. Are they desperate to shed money, or do they need to pick up prospects? I'm guessing they are looking for prospects. And if you are trading a guy who's got a big injury question mark, you're not going to get too much for him. So it's certainly possible he moves for just a lottery ticket. Just taking a quick look as well to see what his contract is. Yeah, he's just on a 1-year deal, so he's not signed into next year as well. So if Josh Bell moves, it won't be for much of a return. That's all I can say on that one. Brian's also from a Cubs family, but then I saw the biggest human I ever seen hit a fastball 500 feet, and I was instantly a Frank Thomas White Sox fan. Yeah, I totally get it. I get it. Yeah, my first season watching the White Sox was 91, and so that was after Sosa left the team. So I never saw Sosa live in a White Sox uniform. But yeah, White Sox were a really fun team to watch in the 90s, mid 90s especially. Okay, so where was I? Before we said Bell. Oh, Cubs teardown. So obviously White Sox fan, not an Indians fan. I slipped. I try to only say Cleveland, trying to get beyond that old school name. Luis will be back next week. It was looking really good. I'm guessing that's true because everything that's come across this chat has been a good news scoop. So that's excellent. I really hope that's true. And if it's not next week, he will be back soon. I know that. Yeah, the Cleveland Guardians, named after what? Statues that look over the traffic is what I heard. I wish they went with some rock and roll theme. That would have been, I actually would have thought that was cool. I might actually even own some Cleveland rock apparel or something like that. Jeff is sad that Hoyer left. Yeah, Hoyer was so great last year. And, he was scuffled a bit this year, but he's so young, such a lively arm. I don't know if he would have lasted long term because he is like so scrawny. Looks like a 15-year-old out there, but Chris Sale lasted a long time before he broke down too. So you can't judge a book by the cover like that. So Jeff brings up a great question, and I do want to get back to the Cubs teardown. I'm gonna make a note for myself in case I need to fill time in a little bit. I think any move that the White Sox are making right now today, it's got to be with an eye on not winning the division. We have to assume that we're going to win the division. We are in very good position to do so. But obviously, we are not stacking up well at all against good teams. You look at the White Sox record against plus 500 teams. I can pull that up really quickly. Thank you, ESPN. Oh, maybe I can't. All right, I can't. All right. Anyway, uh, that the White Sox need to make moves to put next upper echelon. That's why I thought Trevor Story, depending on the asking price, Trevor Story would have been such a huge welcome addition. A guy that has just dominated and been an all-star year in, year out for a long time. I would still love to see Kris Bryant on the White Sox because he has the pedigree. He's been there. He's done it. He has played at the highest level. Uh, as an excellent player with a good attitude, um, good enough at least in the outfield, with a very strong bat. Somebody that further makes our lineup just scary from beginning to end. I have hated the last week of seeing Danny Mendick and Sebi Zavala batting 8-9, and sometimes you also have and I love Billy Hamilton. He's one of my favorite players to watch, but you can't expect him to strike fear in the hearts of opposing pitchers. Any move the White Sox make at this point here on out has to be some sort of a scary additional bat, but I can't imagine where it would go, who it would be. I don't think we'd be getting Josh Donaldson. That would be wild. Could you imagine Josh Donaldson and Lucas Giolito hanging out in the same dugout? That's not going to happen. Brian is versatile too. Yeah, I mean, he's third baseman. They put him in the outfield quite a lot. Still need an outfielder. So Luis talk, pretty sure he's in AAA. If not next week, the week after. Yeah, absolutely. And happy to get Aloy back. Yeah, it is outstanding that we have Aloy back so much earlier than we were at first expecting him back. We have a very, very, very strong team overall, but something about it is just not clicking, as we've seen in the last week or so since the All-Star break. The White Sox are still an exceptional team, but as we always hear, hitting is contagious, and it goes both ways. Lack of hitting is contagious too. Yohan Moncada, it feels like he's always playing through an injury, that he's not out ever 100%. I shouldn't say not ever, but he's rarely at 100%. And that's of no fault of his own, just little nagging injuries that have slowed him down. It's been really a lot of fun to watch Andrew Vaughn come into his own throughout the course of the summer. As a rookie that was getting his first shot, had way too many high expectations heaped upon his shoulders. And it's going to take a lot to adjust to Major League Baseball in general. But now he's got that added pressure of, hey, you're occupying a spot on a playoff contender, and you are expected to not just learn here, but to perform. And I think he handled it very well, and also playing defensive positions that he's not used to playing. He's done a really great job. So I'd love to see that. Let's see. Continuing to look here. Shy Sox Nation says maybe Rick is going for KB. I would certainly be okay with it. About Kris Bryant, short second. He's played short and second, Kris Bryant. Mendick and Zavala have been tough to watch. What would we trade for Kris? Man, like our whole future. I don't know. After the Kimbrel trade, I'm afraid that a lot of things are on the table. Jared Kelly is our top pitching prospect. I should just keep our prospect list open too, so I can make a quick reference to it. Fangraphs is my go-to. Yeah, I don't know what. So I'm trying to react to the idea of trading Cespedes, and I think he's too much of an unknown, but he's too much of an exciting unknown that he might be. Could you imagine if he's even like 80% of Yoenis Cespedes, who was an absolute star? I'm almost like a Bo Jackson-esque type of player. When he's got that build, he's got that total athletic ability. He could crush the ball. He could throw laser beams from the outfield. Really, really an exceptional player to watch. So I would love to see what Cespedes matures into a little bit longer before we trade him away, because maybe he is a future of the franchise type of player. Kelly hasn't been that good. Jared Kelly, I have not looked up his stats this year, but I'll do that live. But at the beginning of the year, he was only in rookie ball. So I mean, he is just so far removed from really being able to tell. Yeah, his strikeouts per nine are almost 12, 11.77 strikeouts per nine. So he's getting it done on that front. ERA though, if you're looking at that, 8.31. FIP 5.99. So also not good, but way better than 8.31. Yeah, it's way too early to really know what you have in Kelly as well. Any of these really low in the minors players. Let's see. Yankees are close to acquiring Bryant. Where's he going to play? They have. Well, so what is? I'm guessing Stanton is a DH at this point. You got Judge, and now you have Joey Gallo. None of them feel like center fielders. I guess Bryant could play center. Not that he'd be the best in center field, but he'd be better than the other options. So the Cubs tear down. I, as a non-Cubs fan, so hold on, standing by here. Phillies acquire Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy. Yeah, Phillies are making a push that might push the Mets even further. It's crazy how many players are changing uniforms, and we have 46 minutes to go. Spencer Howard is part of the package heading back to Texas. I think Texas is going to do a great job. I think they might be a long-term deadline winner today or this trade season, because they, obviously have not been playing well at all, and they weren't expected to, but they have developed some assets that were very tradable. They're just at 36 and 66, 26 and a half games back of the Astros. I can't wait for Houston to have to start selling off hated players. I hate when there's a good team that just needs to do a little bit more and then they end up doing nothing. That is what I would consider the Cubs of 2017 and 18. They had just won the World Series. They obviously this is a really good team, and immediately you start to hear from the front office that, like, hey, we're at the top of our budget. How is that possible? You're in a major market. You have a huge fan base. And they've got this whole complex around it, and their TV licensing deal. You guys have a lot of money. You could become a Yankees-esque franchise that just continues to be good long term, but instead they, I would say, betray their fan base by not trying anymore. I just really couldn't believe how the Cubs did that, and they were complaining about not having enough money, which cannot be real. Twins have reached a deal that is sending John Grant to St. Louis. From St. Louis to Minnesota. Twins are sending J.A. Happ to St. Louis in return. So, I didn't look up how many games the White Sox have with Minnesota the rest of the year, but when we face them, they should be easier to beat, which will be nice. How annoying was it that the Twins trade Nelson Cruz, but not before they get 4 more games against the White Sox? So finish that 4-game series and then trade him. They gave him one last chance, one last bite at the apple. Jeff says we improved. We absolutely did improve. We had a very good middle reliever that I think is going to fill in for where Evan Marshall normally fill in for his role. And then Craig Kimbrel, I cannot believe we have 2 dominant closers in Hendricks and Kimbrel. That's crazy. Gallo will play center. I always forget. I got to be honest here. I always think of Joey Gallo's unbelievable power. Like, he is such a great power hitter that you kind of expect him to be like Adam Dunn, where that's all he does. But he's a Gold Glover as well. Gallo is playing center. So let's see. Catching up on comments here. Yeah. This is like a video game today, and this has to be so I'm reacting without saying it. It's going to be baseball's going to be weird watching all these players with new teams. Absolutely, it is like a video game. Players are being traded like nuts today. 43 minutes countdown check-in, and I think this has to be a bit of a hangover from the pandemic. Just the idea that at the beginning of the season, teams didn't know, would we have fans? Would we even get a whole season in? So I know certain teams, the Cardinals were one. Colton Wong, they just let him walk. Speaking of letting people walk, how'd the Cubs do with Kyle Schwarber there? Wow, he ends up being one of the best power hitters in the first half. Of course, he had his injury, but the Cubs, they had him. I think they had one more year of arbitration control, and they just let him walk. They let him go for nothing. And of course, he was just picked up in a trade between the Nationals and the Red Sox. So again, a big market team playing like or acting like a very small market, weak, feeble team. Uh, when the Cubs began to say that we need to maybe trade off pieces because we can't afford to maintain this payroll, again, I'm not buying it. But I thought the best move that they could have done, and again, years ago, would have been Wilson Contreras, their catcher. I was really surprised they kept him when they could have probably gotten a lot for him a few years back. He's still a very, very excellent catcher. He's kind of, is he the only scary piece of that team right now? Let's see. Said it many times. The Cubs' downfall was not acquiring Verlander before the Astros did. Yeah, talk about changing history. Could you imagine if that trade had happened? And how does Verlander do it? I know he's injured this year and I think most of last year, but talk about a guy that just does not age. He's just gotten better and better. We have Kopech, Tepera, and and the Crotch Rocket. I've never heard that nickname for Garrett Crochet, but I love it. Out of the pen, yeah, this is a nasty bullpen again. All of a sudden, and don't sleep on Aaron Bummer. I know his results have not been great this year, but he's been one of the most unlucky pitchers that I've seen in a long time. He has not given up very much hard contact, but he's given up so many of these like wonky, weird dribblers that just find a hole through the infield. This trade deadline's biggest value has been player control more than other deadlines in a long time. Yeah, I think general managers have really begun to understand. Uh, it's swung a bit. I think recently there's been a feeling that general managers are overvaluing their own prospects to the point that things don't get done. And then now it's seeing that uh, it's not a great idea. Maybe I guess it's linked to overvaluing their prospects, but it's not a good idea to trade the future of your team for just a couple of months of a player. However, if a couple of months of a player includes October and you make it all the way to the finish line, there's no regrets ever. Yeah, letting Schwarber walk was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It is really up there too. It reminds me when I was living in Los Angeles. It was the McCourts. Frank McCourt was still owner of the Dodgers, and they had some really nice players on that team. And this is back in the Matt Kemp era, and including Juan Uribe was on the team. There was a couple of former White Sox that they had control over. Uribe is not an example of this, but they had some good players that they had control over. They just need to offer arbitration to him. But he had just run that team so poorly and was also going through a divorce and had all sorts of outside of the team financial issues that he just non-tendered a whole bunch of players that had value. Which if you're going to do that, at least trade them and get prospects back. But I don't know. The Dodgers were run so poorly in the early 2010s. Or maybe it was late 2000s, the late aughts. Let's take a quick trade rumor check in here. Still, latest news is still the Cardinals Twins swap. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing, is anything going to happen with Kris Bryant? Is anything going to happen with Josh Donaldson? Yeah, that Mets Javi Baez one is wild. And what's going to happen, if anything, with Trevor Story and Marquez, their starting pitcher that they have control over, but man, his trade value. How much would it be rough to be, working for or rooting for the Colorado Rockies right now when you've got the Dodgers and the Padres in your division, and then the Giants don't know how to lose, so you have them that you're fighting against as well. It's going to be a long time before the Rockies can possibly compete, so they might as well cash out as many chips as they have. We're talking about Francisco Lindor having a rough beginning of his new tenure in New York. Another one, Paul Goldschmidt Nolan Arenado with the Cardinals. He has not really gotten off to the start that many were hoping for, and he's a guy that has there's there's an option on him. I think it's a player. I can't remember if it's a player or a team option. I think it's a player option that he can possibly opt out soon. So maybe it's a good thing for the Cardinals that he's not having a great year because he'll want to opt back in. I feel bad for Shy Sox Nation feels bad for his dad, who is a Cubs fan. I'm getting texts from Cubs fan friends because, again, I grew up on the north side. I went to school at Columbia College, so I'm a South Looper, but definitely grew up around a lot of Cubs fans. You have those fun rivalries. Latest text from a Cubs fan says, "Well, I guess I'll be waiting for another 100+ years." So, okay, I don't mean to laugh, but come on. I would say that when people ask what is the record in sports that will never be broken, and I said I don't think there's ever going to be a team in a major market that goes 100+ years again between championships. I think that's an unbeatable record. All right, things seem to have slowed down a little bit on the trade rumor front. Jose Barrios still has not moved. We are looking at 37 minutes remaining before the deadline. And a lot of times these do come down to the very last minute, and the paperwork will be filed at the last second, but news won't break for another few minutes. So we will probably go live or continue to stay live. I don't know if I might take a little break if nothing keeps happening. If there's any other comments or topics you want to talk about, definitely include it here. Yeah. When are the Cubs going to learn to stop trading with us? Hopefully not soon. Again, as I texted with some of my White Sox friends yesterday, it's like, hey, I'll keep rating the Cubs for talent. I've got no problem with that at all. It's been a while. I mean, obviously the George Bell, Sammy Sosa trade in 1990, 1991 didn't work out great for the Southsiders. But outside of that, I can't really think of any trades that were so lopsided, until you look at Aloy coming to the South Side. Yeah. Yeah. Control adds so much to a trade. It's crazy. Team control, that is, the Shy Sox Nation is saying, it makes players traded look unfair at times. Yeah. Well, and so that's why I'm so happy that the White Sox extended Lance Lynn. That trade, I knew in the short term was going to work out really well for us. I believed in Lance Lynn. He's a big boy that can throw some big heat and get the job done really well. Dane Dunning is still a pitcher I believe in overall. He, very young, still developing, but he seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He's got natural talent as well. He's going to keep developing. And I was afraid that the White Sox would only get one season out of Lance Lynn. And I know when we got him, team control was only the one season. But when you have him on your team, you can kind of bond. You can work out an extension, which is obviously what the White Sox did. That they've got exclusive rights to negotiate with him and to make sure that he's not going into free agency and just going to the highest bidder. So even though technically that trade was 5 years of Dane Dunning for 1 year of Lance Lynn, it really in essence becomes 5 years for Dane Dunning for 3 or 4 years of Lynn. So that looks a lot nicer in the long term. Extend Carlos. Yeah, Carlos Rodon, man alive. What a story. What a great story Carlos Rodon has been. I don't know, how do you do it if you're the front office? Because it's much like extending Byron Buxton. How do you know where the value is? How do you know what the dollar amount should be? Because when they're on the field, wow, they're good. When they're not on the field, which is most of the time, it's just a drain on the pocketbook. So, and you don't want to insult a player by saying, well, let's have it be like Kenta Maeda, $3 million, but $10 million in incentives. Not many people would take that deal. I was surprised Kenta Maeda took it. But if Carlos would take something similar to that, maybe 5 million base, another 10 mil in incentives, just based on appearances, I mean, I would love that. My wonderful wife asks how much reduction has the double bubblegum supply seen since Adam Eaton left. Yes, Adam Eaton, the most prolific gum bubble blower. There's a lot of syllables in there. Gum bubble blower. he could be legging out a triple and blowing a bubble as he grounds second base. I wonder what we could do if we trade Carlos and get Kris and move Kopech as starter. Um, it's first off, it's not going to happen because right now it wouldn't happen. This season it wouldn't happen because Michael Kopech just isn't there. He has been electric and wonderful out of the bullpen. This past was it yesterday or the day before? It was the first time that Kopech threw 2 days in a row, throwing 1 inning apiece. They are really taking their time and being careful with him, deservedly so. We know he was coming off of Tommy John surgery that he had in 2018, that kept him out of all of 2019, and then he opted out of the 2020 season. So he does not have a lot of miles on his arm. We did start to build him up nicely at the first half of this year. Of course, he started a couple of games, doubleheader type games, and it was really great to see. Then he dealt with an injury, I believe it was a hamstring. And since coming back from that hamstring, the White Sox have been very, very careful with him. So I don't know if there's something else going on. It kind of seems like there might be some additional cause for concern because they're being very, very, very careful with Michael Kopech right now. The training side knows something that we don't. I do expect Michael Kopech to be turned into a starter at some point. It's not going to happen this season, though, just based on what we're seeing so far. The how careful they've been since the All-Star break. But let me go back to what the suggestion was. Trade Carlos and get Kris, move Kopech as starter. So that's what it was. So here's the other thing to look at it from the Cubs' point of view. Right now, they're not competing. They've got no reason to get talent that's not controllable. Which Rodon is on a 1-year contract. So if Rodon was on a 6-year contract, and this is something that I think more teams should do, is pick up a player that's on a long contract, even if they don't think that they'll compete for a year or two, because maybe by the time their minor leaguers are up, they'll have a good foundation, a good core that's already in the swing of things. I wish I saw more of that. That doesn't really happen very much, but that's why that trade wouldn't happen right now. John Smith, I'm so happy Carlos has been as good as he has this year with his injury history. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So much talent is finally being realized, and he stayed healthy. He's been a workhorse for us, which is the last thing you would ever think you would use last phrase you'd ever use to describe Carlos Rodon. So no breaking news yet, but Trevor Story is being discussed with the Giants. So another interdivision trade that could be very interesting depending on how much San Francisco sends back to Colorado. Kopech is so good, man. Yeah, I had no idea what to expect because we didn't see him for so long. And also on top of dealing with the injuries, he was married to a reality TV star and they had some big public divorce. It seemed like chaos. And you wondered if he was going to spiral. He's a younger guy too. Did he get a whole bunch of money with his signing bonuses and then go down the fame train? And who knows what was going to happen? I just did not know what to expect. But Kopech is very, very, very much impressed me, what I've seen of him this year. Rodon for Lester is the next question. Also, Lynn the ace. Is Lance Lynn the ace? I think, God, I mean, the great thing is I love that that's not an easy question to answer because that means we have multiple people that might be the ace. I think right now, yeah, he probably is. Especially because we just can't depend on Rodon for the full season yet. And I'll get back to the Lester question. I didn't forget about it. Yeah, this is John. Yeah. I can't remember who it was that Kopech was married to, but there was TMZ. If TMZ is covering your personal life, things are strange. But yeah, so Lance Lynn has been so great. Lucas Giolito has been great lately, but as we know, he didn't get off to the best start on the year. He hit a no-hitter going into the 5th inning just the other day, and he's been dominant lately. So I'm going to believe, maybe even bet, that Giolito will be the ace by the end of the season, but Lance Lynn is apparently just that even keel, awesome guy from beginning to end. I really hope to see Dallas Keuchel take a step up as well. As we saw what his ERA was 199 last season. Short season, but still, those are great numbers over not a insignificant amount of time. So if we get some improvement out of Keuchel and Giolito, and I'm a big believer in Dylan Cease. I always have been, and he's really taken the next step this season. There's still a lot of time left, so hopefully he can hold on to it and keep going. But yeah, we'll see. Dallas is disappointed. Yeah, he has a little bit. He is still a guy that you can depend on to go out there and eat innings, but that's not what you want out of him. Former Cy Younger, and again, a really great leader with the team last year. But especially because he is not a guy who needs the highest velocity to be effective. So he's not a guy that if he loses a mile or two off of his fastball, for Dallas Keuchel, that's not a big deal. For a lot of other players, that's a huge deal. So I think I really do hope Keuchel, his numbers will balance out a little bit. Actually, I'm going to try to look him up on Fangraphs really quick just to see what the predicted ERA would be for him. Because I'm going to guess it's way less than what his actual is. And taking a look at John Lester right now, this season, John Lester is 3-5 with a 5.02 ERA, 16 games, all starts, of course. Of course, ERA is not a great indicator, but it ain't nothing. Lester's not having a great year, and he's also really up there in age, right? He's 37 and a half. I don't know. There's really no need. I don't know. So let's see. Hold on. I want to get back to it was Go Caps is putting the Rodon trades out there. Now, I know you're dealing with between the White Sox and the Nationals, another of your favorite team. So is it that you are trying to get value for Rodon? Is the belief from a White Sox perspective, we can't depend on him to be healthy, so let's trade him while he's hot? Or are you just trying to get a good White Sox player on your Nationals team? So that's that question. Let's see. Catching up here. Cease has been so much better this year than before. Yeah, I really I thought of Cease as I was kind of getting to know him and learn about him. I should say I don't know him. You see this big pitch arsenal that he's got a whole bunch. That knuckle curve is one of the nastiest pitches I've seen all year. That huge 12-6 curve. And he's got a number of pitches in his arsenal. And I thought, oh, he's a crafty guy. He's kind of like a Greg Maddux type. And then you see him throw a fastball and it's in the upper 90s. Like, this guy's something else. And he's not a lanky guy like Randy Johnson or something like that. So he generates that power just with good form, which is really great. And then you find out also that he's really into meditation and yoga, and does all this mindfulness stuff. So you think, theoretically at least, he is a guy that won't crumble if he's under pressure. Now, I think we have seen some of that where he gets overwhelmed at times on the mound, starts to let up more base runners than he should have. An error happens and it jostles him a bit. But again, these are the characteristics of a young pitcher. Fortunately, he's a young pitcher with a lot of really big, high quality aspects to who he is as a person and his game overall. So I was very excited overall to see Cease get regular playing time, get a real shot at being a member of the rotation. And he's taken, in my opinion, very good advantage of it. I wish Renteria had a little bit more faith in him last year, especially in the playoffs. He could have gone more than just one inning or 2/3 of an inning. Oh, no, that was Dane Dunning that he pulled so early and then had Cease in relief. Let's not revisit game 3 against the Oakland A's last year. What do I think of Lopez? Lopez was one of the most frustrating pitchers to watch in the last several years. Again, similarly to Cease, where it seems like he has potential, not nearly as much as Cease, but he could at least be an innings eater, a guy with an ERA in the 4s that could eat up some innings and keep a team in the game. And then Lopez just wouldn't do it. His control was the big issue, his command. And when he spent all of last year, or just about all of last year, in the traveling team, taxi squad, all of the Schomburg group, I thought, well, maybe he's got a chance for a very extended spring training. And then I was happy that the White Sox kept him in the organization because he was looked at as a DFA candidate, which I would have understood if that's what happened. But I was happy to keep him around his depth. And so far, he's been really good this year in the bullpen as maybe a multi-inning reliever type. So I've been happy. I've been very happy about Lopez. I can't stand Ronaldo. I couldn't stand him. But I definitely wanted him as depth, and he's performed well so far. He wins against under 500 teams. Yeah, you could say that about all the White Sox right now. Let's see. How many Sox games have I been to this year? So this is an embarrassing number because the number is 0. Personal life has really gotten in the way of that. I've tried to get to a couple, and it just hasn't worked out. One of the biggest stories in the regular world, the non-sports world this year, is the housing market. And we have been selling a house and buying a house, and that has really monopolized all of our time this year so far. So I really, really want to get to several games this year. I've looked at tickets so often, just like petting my screen longingly. I want to go to there. But no, I haven't been to. How many games have you guys been to this year? Oh, John says 1. So yeah, you're one up on me. You are 1,000,000% more than I've been to. Yeah, I love continuing to have Ronaldo Lopez as a multi-inning reliever. Maybe a spot starter for a bullpen for a doubleheader, maybe. But I love him in the bullpen. I don't want to see him as a starter anymore. I guess that's where especially because we have so many good starters. We aren't in that place. If we were a bad team, we might say like, hey, let's continue to give him a chance, see what he's got. But we just have too many other good options. No, I'm still trying to figure out if it's possible to say your name. Nolwk. Nolwk, we'll go with. I've been to 2, but the tickets are getting more expensive because the Sox are getting good. Yeah, that is tough. I definitely remember my first, not my first games, but when I was in college, and when the hell was I in college? Early 2000s. The White Sox were not very good, and it was so easy just to show up, buy tickets at the window, and they were so cheap. And you'd have those like half price Tuesday and Wednesday games. I went to a lot of those back in the day. Saw Creedy hit a grand slam to win the game once. That's one of my White Sox highlights. It's surprising how little is going on right now. We have 20 minutes left of the Jerry Lewis telethon. So make your pledges now. Go Caps is back. You've been missed. I wish I could go soon now that Aloy is back. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a very crazy deadline. White Sox in Cleveland today. Kind of can't forget that there's actual baseball to be played as well. Not just rebuilding teams on your Xbox or PlayStation consoles. But let's see. The White Sox, I want to see their home schedule coming up because they are going to be drawing a heck of a lot of fans. That combination of having a full healthy team again soon, which will be the first time once we get Grandal and Luis back. So the White Sox, they're at home today. I thought they were in Cleveland. So they're at home today. Oh yeah, that's right. It's Elvis night. So weird to have Elvis night on the trade deadline day, and then Moncada bobblehead day tomorrow. That's fun. It feels like the off season. Yeah, but it's like when what is it? Is it NFL or NBA that has a very small window when you can trade players, and that so much activity happens in that 1 week? That's what it feels like, and I've never seen this. There's always some fun action at the Major League Baseball trade deadline, but this is nuts. Go Caps! Sad to see the star players go. This is been $5 bleacher tickets. Yeah, man alive. Remember when tickets were cheap? I do. NBA for the trade deadline. I thought so. Living in LA, all everybody ever talked about was the Lakers and Clippers. Way more than the Dodgers. So Go Caps made a comment that I wanted to comment on because I agree with you. I hate seeing the star players go. I've got a little proposition for the next the competitive bargaining agreement collective bargaining agreement, which is, I think teams should be motivated. Sorry if I'm jostling the cable there a little bit. I hope it didn't mess up the audio too bad. I feel like the team should be motivated to hold on to their homegrown talent. And I guess you could define homegrown talent as players that have been on your team for 5 or more years, kind of like 10 and 5 rights. Right now, there's the rule that if a player has been in the league for 10 years and they've spent the last 5 years with the same team, they can have control over if they're traded or not. They can veto a trade, essentially. And I come from back in the day, growing up with Ozzie Smith in St. Louis and Tony Gwynn in San Diego. These guys that played their entire life with one team. And I feel like that is how you create fans that follow your team long term, is you create a little bit of consistency. Trades can still happen. So my suggestion is, if you have a player that's on your team for 5 years, their salary no longer counts against your luxury tax hit. So you can pay him whatever you want. It's not going to affect your budget in that negative way where it hurts you on the luxury tax side. Also, that allows you to offer more money than anybody else. If their contract comes to an end and they're in free agency, you can sign them back. You can offer more money than a lot of other people. I think that would be a good thing for keeping players within their own team. Like, it kills me that Mark Burley left the White Sox. I love that Paul Konerko got to finish his career with the White Sox, but that doesn't happen nearly enough. I hate that Frank Thomas went to Oakland and then Toronto after the White Sox. So anyway, that's my little suggestion for the next CBA. Okay, we got some other sports talk here. Go Caps loves the Wizards. I guess I do. Speaking of guys that left their team, Michael Jordan going to the Wizards at the end of his career. Am I a Bears fan? I do root for the Bears, but I got to be honest with you. I'm a huge baseball fan, and I don't really follow any other sports all that closely. My wife, who I celebrate forever, she actually played. She's a drummer, and she played on the Tundra line for the Packers. So yes, I am married to a former employee of the Packers, as a guy that grew up in Chicago. So you never know where life's going to take you. Do you know who likes the Sacramento Kings? Actually, I loved the Kings back in LA. I'm getting so off topic, but when I lived in LA, I think partially because I didn't like the Lakers. Back when they had Mike Bibby, oh my gosh, Vlade Divac was over there. If I had more time, I could remember almost the entire lineup of the Sacramento Kings. But I was a big Kings fan for a little while there. Wild Card Sports says, I don't think I know who Wild Card Sports is. Bear down. Booze and nose. Go Packers. Pats. Really? Pats? WFT. Not sure who that is. And Browns. I respect anybody that's going to cheer for the Browns. Like, you're in it because you're passionate, not because you're latching your wagon to the winners. Baseball's my first love too, says John Smith. Washington football team. Oh, Washington football team. WFT. Gotcha. Yeah. Are they gonna? What's up? Are they gonna be the guardians of the football? Do they have another team coming? Team name that is coming. We have 14 minutes left of the trade deadline, and it has gotten eerily quiet. Like, the tornado is about to hit, because this is the quietest the news stream has been all day. Probably all week. The fact that no news is coming out means people are on the phones. GMs are on the phones with each other, and there's no time to leak information anymore. Okay, yeah. So what are you guys doing today? It's a slow one. We can continue looking at the week ahead, or the today's game, just to have something to chat about. We certainly don't have lineups posted yet, which is too bad, because I'd love to see White Sox and that Kimbrel from Crosstown Clubs. Oh, that's a fun headline to see. So yeah, pitching today is Lance Lynn going up against Meha. Now you can't take. Usually, you could look at a pitching matchup and have a pretty good idea about how the game is going to go. But if you looked at yesterday's game, Rodon against, I can't even remember his name, but he was terrible for Kansas City, and Kansas City still walked away with it. Hernandez for Kansas City picked up just a second win, and Rodon picked up his 5th loss. That was rough. But yes, today we have Lance Lynn going up against JC Meha. JC has interesting beard work done. He looks like he could be in the Hunger Games. If you look at his headshot on MLB.com, but he's just 1-6 with a 7.52 ERA. White Sox better win this one. Let's see. Oh, prediction. Let's see. I missed a couple of comments. I'm catching up on that. Something's in the works. Absolutely. Lynn 11-3 today. Is that what he's at? Is he really at 10-3? I'm gonna say yes. You got to imagine. Yeah, he's 10-3. Wow. I think I just said that too, but it didn't register. That's an awesome record. You got to assume that these trades also really perk up the team that is getting the talent. It's like, wow, we have momentum. This is exciting. Our ownership believes in us. We're going to go deep into October. And it is just amazing how many great arms we have in the bullpen now. That is nuts. So yeah, I do think we're going to go deep into the playoffs. This could, October baseball, the offense goes away and it really becomes about pitching. It gets colder, depending on where you are in the country. And I don't know what it is, but it's unshakable that the offense always really slows down during the playoffs and becomes very much a pitcher's game. So the fact that we added some really talented arms today should help us a lot in October. Predictions for the divisions I saw was a request. I'll get the easy one out of the way. White Sox are winning the Central. Gosh, I'd love to root for Boston in the East. All right, sorry. I'd love to root for Tampa in the East. I cannot believe how competitive Tampa has continued being, even after losing Tyler Glasnow, their ace pitcher. Of course, they picked up Nelson Cruz, so that's going to help them. You know what? I think Boston will probably do it. We'll see how Kyle Schwarber does out there as well. Again, so weird saying some of these names in conjunction with new teams. Oh gosh, in the West, I hate to pick the Astros, but you have to. 5.5 up on the A's. The A's just picked up a catcher today, but that I think was about it. Oh, and they traded. Who did they? They traded Jesus Luzardo for somebody big. I can't remember. If somebody can put that in the chat. So they did pick up another big name somewhere, and I can't remember who that was. We'll see if it's a game changer or not. In the East, it's got to be the Mets. I don't see the Phillies pushing, but I don't know what to make of the East anymore. But I'm thinking it's the Mets. I'm guessing Javi Baez picks it up. He'll be better in New York than he was in Chicago for this year, at least. Though that's not saying very much. In the Central, I'm definitely rooting Brewers, and boy, you can't imagine that they won't make it. 7 games up on the Reds. Reds have made some moves too. Of course, I'm blanking on off the top of my head. And all year, I've been picking the Dodgers to pass the Giants. But the Giants are not budging. Still 3 games up, not losing, not going on any prolonged stretches where they are on a losing streak. So I'll pick. Maybe I'll curse them. I don't want to do that, but maybe. Okay, we got some news now. Maybe if I pick the Giants, they'll not win. I'm not rooting against them at all, but I actually like watching the Giants in October baseball. So another Cleveland trade, a minor one, fairly minor. Miles Straw comes in for righty reliever Phil Maton, Maton. So kind of a smaller trade of major league pieces between Houston and Cleveland. Yankees are getting Andrew Heaney from Anaheim. We haven't heard Anaheim mentioned in trade rumors or trade news much at all. That's another very frustrating team. When I first moved to LA, I tried to become like have the Angels be my number 2 team, but I just couldn't do it. I just hated almost all the moves they would always make. This was back in the day with Tim Salmon being on the team. Okay, so Where will Cesar Hernandez be in the lineup? Hitting 2 or 7? 2 or like 7? Will he be down in the lineup or up? Well, if we know anything from Tony, it's that it's going to move around. He's going to move around like crazy. I don't love everything that Tony La Russa has done. I do like his use of the number 2 spot in the lineup. It was neat seeing Moncada up there when that was working. Adam Engel was in that spot just a couple days ago. Maybe it was yesterday. I liked seeing that as well. So I think Hernandez will probably spend some time up in the 2 spot. He might spend some time really low in the lineup as well. I think he'll be all over the place. I would hope that all of this experimentation with the lineup, for the most part, is just a process of whittling it down, trying to figure out the best lineup, and then maybe for all of September through the playoffs, we'll have a set lineup. I guess we don't really need that. We'll see. We'll see how the team does, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be interesting to see. I think fans, myself included, like to have a set lineup. Does it matter to players? I don't really know. That'd be a good question to ask some players. Kansas City is our nemesis. I'm not sure if that was back to the football talk or if we're talking about the Royals, who have been just an absolute thorn in our side. They've played us like the Twins used to play us. It's nuts. I was so excited to see 4 games in Kansas City. I'm like, oh, the offense is going to explode, and just nothing. It was rough. I don't want to mess with the lineup too much as John Smith, but it'd be interesting to see Caesar batting number 1, have Tim 2. If Caesar gets on, Tim moves him over for, basically a good table setter situation. So the interesting thing with that, the thing that in the past would make sense that it's not playing out this year, is that Hernandez is not hitting for average at all. He's batting 230, something like that. He's hitting the ball really well as far as the power numbers are concerned, but he is not being that table setter guy that you want. A Nick Madrigal type, for example, a guy that has a high batting average. So he's a guy, I don't know if he's trying to change his game or if it's just working out in some weird way. I did, in fairness though, I did read that he's had basically bad luck. His expected on base is way below, or expected batting average is way below what his actual average is. So the predictors are saying that he was going to have a much higher batting average for the rest of the season. We'll see if it plays out. Freakish things happen in both directions, unfortunately. You can't predict everything. But yeah, that would be interesting to see somebody hitting in front of Tim Anderson, who is so good at getting base hits in the first inning. That could, you think about back in the day, we were talking about Frank Thomas earlier, how many times we had a scrappy, great couple of guys, whether it was Ray Durham or Jose Valentin, or for one season, Tony Phillips. I love that dude. He was such a fun, whacked out of his mind player to watch. But they would get on base in front of Frank Thomas, and then he would clean him up. For a long time, Ventura even batted second. Let's see. You mainly face teams top 3 pitchers. That's true for why the offense goes down in October. You definitely never see a number 5 pitcher going in October. And as it stands right now, if the playoffs began today, who would you call the White Sox number 5 pitcher? I guess it might be Dylan Cease, but you'd almost have to wonder, is it Dallas Keuchel? Yeah, that's true. When making those division predictions, got to factor in the fact that the Dodgers just added Scherzer and Turner. That is a big move. That is a gigantic move. Yeah, so that could be enough to make up 3 games only in the West. See, I can't stand Anaheim. Get some damn pitching. Exactly. It's crazy how much money they will throw and waste on their position players. 3 minutes. Ooh, only 3.5 minutes left, and no new news right now. It's crazy the amount of money they'll waste on Josh Hamilton and Vernon Wells and then Upton and then Pujols, and they won't invest in pitching at all. And they haven't been able to develop pitching, so it's nutty that Anaheim has no excuse for having such a long playoff drought. That was accidental. A long playoff drought when you have the best player in the game roaming your center field. Hernandez batted number 2 in Cleveland. Yeah, I could definitely see him up there. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. I'm very excited to see it. Left is about to go down. Kris Bryant with the Giants. Giants to acquire Kris Bryant. Okay. Oh, the West is going to be fun to watch. Kris Bryant goes to San Francisco. I'm really curious to see who the Cubs are going to be getting back. We're going to do I'm going to do a video soon, once the dust settles a little bit, about the second base options that the White Sox were going after. Escobar, Frazier, Story. Still haven't heard anything from Story. And obviously Hernandez, comparing what it would have cost from a prospect standpoint to acquire the other players. And then we'll see, how good was this move. Joaquin Soria goes to Toronto from Arizona. That guy's been pitching forever, and he's been good for a long time. At least, good, not great. Sometimes pretty lights out, though. Another former White Sox, former everything. He's played everywhere. But yes, I can't believe Kris Bryant to the Giants with 1.5 minutes remaining. That could be a big positive move for San Francisco. Kris Bryant will be playing in October this year, after all. Man alive. It's just the Chicago Cubs franchise just fanning their players out all over the country. Yeah, Cubs are unrecognizable. It is just so crazy. I think they could have kept this team. They could have made some smarter moves a few years ago. I couldn't believe when they traded away Yu Darvish. I mean, what a sign that, like, hey, we're not even trying this year. Yes, our best pitcher. Let's essentially give him away. They did get prospects for him. Wade Davis was part of their return, I believe, just to like take his role in the bull and the rotation. But it really sent a sign that the Cubs aren't even trying this year. And then they were surprised when it didn't work out for them. The Cubs really could. If I was a Cubs fan, I would be irate, not just because of today, but because of the last several years leading up to this moment, when they completely disbanded a World Series winner that could have and should have, for all intents and purposes, been a perennial World Series contender. And now they're going to be in the basement for at least a few years. Their trade of Anthony Rizzo yesterday to the Yankees yielded them 2 prospects from the Yankees system. One was the 7th ranked and one was the 11th ranked. So you think, okay, well, hey, some upper level prospects are coming back. Those 2 players were in single A and rookie ball. Now, those are guys that still have a lot of potential, but they are so far from being major league ready. And as I always talk about, a lot can happen between the low minors and Major League Baseball. They might hit their plateau as far as their talent go, as far as their talent will take them. Obviously, if you have years of playing a sport, there's a chance for a catastrophic injury at some point too. So it's possible the Cubs trade their face of the franchise, Anthony Rizzo, yesterday to the hated New York Yankees and end up having nothing to show for it. Which, granted, it was the last year of his contract. I think the Cubs actually did put together a decent offer when they were trying to work out an extension. But when he didn't accept the offer, they just cut off communication. A couple of texts coming in. Nats have to choose who to get, though, from the A's. Oh, lineup is out. Today's lineup is out? Cool. Thank you for the hint, for the tip. I'll check on that. Says they're batting second today behind TA. When does it end? I'm guessing you're talking about the trade deadline. Trade deadline ends in 1 minute, 15 seconds. There will be, probably for the next 5 or so minutes after that, news trickling out of paperwork that just got filed. So yes, today's lineup: Tim Anderson at short. Pardon for the whistle. Hold on, one last quick check-in. Brewers acquiring John Curtis. Brewers have done all right. This trade deadline, not a lot of huge moves, but solid ones. So yeah, Brewers pick up a reliever. Not a big name. Yeah, trade deadline ends in about one. Wait a minute. No, this is going the other direction now. Trade deadline has ended. So let's give it another 5-10 minutes at the most. Paperwork that was filed at the last second. That news will start to come out now. And I gotta imagine Trevor Story is going somewhere. Um, I'm surprised for as busy as we were an hour ago, it really slowed down. But I think more news is going to be coming out really soon. Back to the lineup. Tim Anderson leading off. Cesar Hernandez at second, batting second. Jose is back at first base. Gavin Sheets is DHing today. Yohan Moncada back at third base. Vaughn in left. Brian Goodwin in center. Garcia in right. And Sebi Zavala catching. So Sebi catching. I don't know why Zavala is kind of our starting catcher now. He is a good defensive catcher, but Zach Collins seemed at least fair enough to have the starting job and way better with the bat. Why is it that when Grandal went down, Collins didn't just get shifted from backup to starter and Zavala move up to backup catcher? I don't know. Still no news on this one. Back here. And I thought we would not see Leary Garcia in right field. Then I would do the lineups differently. Every time I see a lineup come out, I'm thinking, why they do that? Give Garcia a day off. He's been playing so much lately, and honestly, not performing great. You think with a new second baseman in Hernandez, we would not see we'd see Garcia on the bench. Let's see. Giants have a deal in place for Bryant. Yep. What's the national lineup? I'd rather have Yermin. Yes. I mentioned this in my last video. Yermin Mercedes has been playing in the field as catcher. I will check out the Nationals lineup if it's posted. It probably is. Or it might be. Let's take a quick look at Yermin's latest numbers because he has been tearing the cover off the ball in minor league baseball, and he has spent some time at designated hitter, but he's also spent a good amount of time. The majority of his time he has spent DHing, catching. Here we go. So again, it's 4.5 minutes past. Oops. And of course, my computer is going as slow as humanly possible. All right. Anybody that's heading out, maybe we'll just end it right here. Thank you, everybody that came in, even if just briefly, and anybody that's commented, chatted, doing one more refresh, and no more news so far. Very strange to me that we haven't gotten any news out of Colorado, where there was expected to be a lot more players moved, or at least a couple more really big name players moved. Something still might happen, but it looks like this is probably the end of the trade deadline. I hope everybody is doing well. It's going to be a fun rest of the year, a full 2 months of checking out our new co-closer, bullpen setup piece, and starting second baseman. We will miss Nick Madrigal for sure, and Cody Hoyer. I'm sure we'll miss him as well. I'll be rooting him on the north side, in spite of the fact that it's the north side. I want the best for Nicky. Thank you, everybody that's been watching. One final refresh on MLB trade rumors, and it is the Padres are picking up Jake Marisnick. Another Cubs trade just went down. Jake Marisnick, he's listed as an outfielder, but he's a pretty versatile player as well. So Cubs are doing a pretty good job of getting a bunch of prospects. I'm not really sure how highly rated they will be. We'll see. We'll see how it all goes down. There's a lot of dust that still needs to settle, and probably another trade or two that will filter through the news wire over the next 10 minutes or so. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This was fun. Yes, absolute fire sale. Wrigley is in ashes right now. I will see everybody in the next video. If you guys want to see any type of live stream again, I was thinking about doing a pre-show here or there. We'll definitely do stuff during the playoffs. But if you have any other ideas, and hello, Snake Eyes. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, visiting, and now I have to figure out how to end this. Mets receive Baez and Williams. Okay, we got that one. Thanks a lot, though. All right, we'll see everybody on the next show. Take care, all.